covering all your favorite parts of the 50-yard fight. This is the Inside the Walls podcast with Zach Kyleman and Jim Mernier.
Welcome one, welcome all to the latest edition of the Inside the Walls podcast. Zach Kyleman alongside my good buddy, pal, and friend as well, Jim Mernier, in studio with me as we wrap up episode 6 of 6 of this week's NAL Championship week of shows. Jim, before we get moving here, it's been a whirlwind of getting this together. It feels weird getting 6 episodes done in 5 days, to say it like that.
Yeah, over 2 hours of content, a lot of editing, good conversations behind the scenes with a lot of people that we've had. Of course, Nick Hag, Sam Castronova, Kendrick Ings, Jeff Levesque, Coach Manas, and Coach Rez. It's what this league needs to hype up the championship game, and it's awesome. Especially doing it with you. This has been a crazy week, and it's also been a crazy year. I guarantee both of us will agree that we're really looking forward for every other week schedule again. Because besides from that, it's been a great time, and the reason why people want to know, Manas has made comments about this, and Lex made comments about this. I gotta keep tradition alive for the last season episode. So this is not really. I can be in my house right now recording it, but I'm not. I'm just sticking with tradition for the last episode of 2022 in my truck, and also Jacksonville. To just kick me down. If you watched the episode earlier today, you know the reason why. Get ready for that. But anyways, yeah,
I've got my spirit on standby now after this. So I'll be throwing one back for you.
Yeah.
So everyone else.
It could be like me and you all behind the scenes that before we got in the recording that I made LaCroix reference to a tequila. And I was like, holy crap, no, LaCroix is a sparkling water. What am I talking about?
The steal of the century, folks. LaCroix. It is.
Yeah, it's the most expensive tequila shot in the United States.
Get 12 ounces.
It just rolled off the tongue by LaCroix. So, yeah, it's been awesome, man. Over 2 hours of content. We'll definitely have shows next week, especially. We're going to keep it with how we did last year, where we'll talk to the championship game MVP, most likely, or could have Rez or could have Coach Manas back on to talk about the championship game itself. So we'll be back next week. Then we might take a week off, then come back for the good, bad, and ugly to wrap up the 2022 season. But then again, I want to say thank you for the support. Thank you for everyone in Albany has reached out to us. Thank you for the people in Carolina. Thank you for trusting us for this whole season.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm going to again, this is championship week. We got to get championship game talk tonight. Thank you to the National Arena League. Thank you to Chris Siegfried, Rod Storm, Jeff. I almost said the wrong person's name there for Steve Curran.
Yep.
Almost thank my boss for my work to do the National Arena League. And I also want to thank Josh Blair of the Columbus Lions for giving us this opportunity to be the official podcast. So hopefully you enjoyed all the content and of all the guests that we had. This off season is gonna be good. Get some things building the back. So I'm looking forward to it. Get the season finale is like the episodes of your favorite shows. When it ends, you're like, oh dear God, can't wait to next season. Then you look at when's next, like, I gotta wait 6 months for this. Trust me, you're not going to have that feeling. We're going to be here right after, and we'll keep giving you content throughout the National Football League season and the hype to 2023, which it's going to be exciting because it's football, and in the United States, football doesn't die. It's year-round. Remember that, folks.
Oh, yes. You know very well. You and I follow that sentiment, quite frankly, to a T. Yeah. There's tons of football out there, ladies and gentlemen. It's not just the NFL. Don't say football's back when the NFL season's around because it never left. It's always here now. Just got to look for it. Nonetheless, I am very grateful for what we've been able to do this year. Again, my sentiments as well, like Jim's saying, go out to the execs of like Chris Siegfried, the commissioner, as well as Rob Storm, Josh Blair, Steve Curran, those in the NAL that gave us our opportunity to jump on these airwaves and say proudly that we can be called the official podcast of the National Arena League, which we believe is the best arena league in the country by far, and some of the best top tier play that you're going to find in this version of the sport. And we get to capsulate that with the championship game here, when you guys get to watch it with us, one way or another, in Albany, New York, or on your TV screen too. And we're going to have plenty of stuff this offseason. So just like Jim's saying, I cannot wait for some of the surprises, twists, and turns the league brings us. Can't wait to at least hit the ground running on kind of a few things. But I also am in the same vein where it's like, I do need a little bit of a space. That'll be nice to get a little bit of a break after the whirlwind we did this week. So without further ado, guys, we are going to get this final walkthrough set up for you, as we always do. News, nuggets in the league, followed up by what you've been waiting for, our picks for the 2022 National Arena League Championship in Albany, New York, August 13th at 7 p.m. in the MVP Arena downtown. All right, news this week. Well, awards season for the NAL, as we know. It is now here. We haven't, of course, gotten all the awards. The banquet's going to be taking place Friday before the NAL Championship, so you're going to have to wait on those announcements. So, or tonight, yes.
Yeah.
as we record here, it's going to be coming up here. So stay tuned for that. We weren't going to be able to get that, but we could talk about, of course, the All-NAL teams, which are very much the prestigious awards. And this year, here's the twist. Guys can get basically nominated for performances at either position if they're Ironman players, or of course, if you're specialist, you get that too. But, nominations, it came down to guys that if you're playing well in that position, you play on both sides and they like both ways you play, you can be up for both those sides. So there's multi-position guys on these lists. If you see as we go along that it's got I'm impressed, because that's kind of Iron Man of the year mentality, is who do you look for that was able to perform at both sides of the ball, even maybe three sides of the ball while rolling. So keep this in mind as we go down. Something else to keep in mind, and we'll go as we jump into the second team. Definitely plenty of talent from the revamp of the Gunslingers that showed up. You got to give props to that. And then you get the usual suspects, the Cobras of the world, the Empire, the Lions, of course, having their own in there. All six teams did get represented one way or another in the All-NAL. Yeah. So you love to see it. And of course, there's quality talent when you have six teams like this. It's going to be competitive football every week, and not everyone's going to be split up to every team. It's distributed well enough to where you can get the best of the best still across the board.
Oh, agreed. And you gotta give a shout out to San Antonio in this situation. They basically took almost every second team award. That just tells you what they did in the second half of the season, how they just were the hottest team in the league and they just ran out of time. That just gets, that's tipping of the hat to Fred Shaw down in San Antonio. But it's nice to see that every team has a representative on these two teams, because there's a lot of talent. And of course, we know Orlando didn't have a season that they expected, but they still have some solid players that made the list. There's some players that were left out that we can't mention, that again deserve to be on the list, but there's only a certain amount of spots to get in two teams. But you look at overall, well, you said both players could be on both words. Like, for example, DJ Myers, he's a second team wide receiver, but he's the first team Jack linebacker.
Yeah.
So that tells you something about DJ. But of course, the noticeable people: Casper Nova, Darius Prince, Naquan Murray surprised me. I thought Naquan was the second team. Didn't expect him to be a first team. And of course, there's some players out there that missed the cut. But again, there's only 6 spots for receivers, and you can literally go down and list in this league of 12 to 13 receivers that belong on that list. So yeah, it's pretty hard. And for me and Zach can give you guys legit reasons. We had votes in this, and It was very hard for us to put these votes in. Like, I think I did my ballot like 6 or 7 times, and I was like, just let me get a piece of paper, throw it in the air, and then wherever it lands or flush it down the toilet,
Well,
whatever happens.
It's harder too when you do it. The league, it being the level the NAL is, it's still very personal. You get to talk to these players, a lot more easily available access to this. So a lot of these guys we've either talked to or we know who they are when we watch these games. And it's hard, and you have a lot of nominations you got to go through, because I'm with you. It was hard for me to have some picks off of my own, but the thing is that you have an accumulated essentially pool of guys. It's not just us voting. It's basically the accumulation of a ton of personnel from executives, team owners, coaches, select media personnel that get looked at.
And it's also our personal feelings towards certain players or coaches. We're like, I really like this guy, good relationship, but he actually was a better person, better player, or better executive, or whatever. It's like doing these votes is very hard. It's not like presidential and political votes where you're like, okay, or I hate this guy, whatever. Hopefully the FBI doesn't come after me when I say that. Sorry, that was trending today. I was like, hashtag hopefully FBI is not following me. I'm like, what's this? And then I was like, oh, okay, that's the reason why. But yeah, that had nothing to do with the NAL. Just know it was so hard for me, especially the hardest position for me to decide who gets a certain spot was the MAC linebacker, in my opinion. Because Nick Hag, then you had Starks, then you had Zach Brown, and then you had Devin Wilson played a couple of these. He was Jack. He was the Jack. There's 3 to 4 players for that MAC position. I'm like, they can both be first. They can both be second. It was so hard to do it. And, of course, the quarterback position, for me, I've had people text me, message me, Albany, get your shot glasses ready. That they're like, where's Arvell Nelson in the first and second team? I'm like, I don't know. It's Robert Kent had a better second half of the season than Arvell. Arvell had 2 games that he's supposed to be clutch, didn't get clutch. Robert Kent was. And I was like, sometimes Jacksonville has to take the step back in this. Yes, we have a couple players, but still, I'm a person who believes that Robert Kent deserves it more than Arvell Nelson, especially in the second half of the season.
And you know what? Let's get through the second team here while we're talking about, because I think, I will get through some of the other picks that I was like, well, tough call, but I understand. So, or at least it's tough call because of, it's hard to have a squeeze in, squeeze out, if that makes any sense.
Any snubs you want to mention? You think our honorable mentions?
I think we will. But
I got 3 players.
And I have a few too, that I say it could be flip-flopped or possible. So if you're going through a second team, quarterback, as Jim said, Robert Kent was the second team All-NAL. For running back position, his running back, Pierre Turner. Sorry, I almost said Pierre Thomas. Pierre Turner is the
that'd be epic, though.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be something. That would be. But no.
You're playing in 2 leagues? Not bad. Dude must love football.
Pierre Turner, the Gunslinger's own running back, lands at the second team All-NAL nod. Wide receiver Kylie Vershad. Yes, it says Kylie Vershad on the graphics. I don't know why. It's Kylie Vershad. Just a heads up, guys. Make sure you do the names right. People get iffy on that. Kylie Vershad was second team wide receiver for the NAL. You might see a pattern here. The starting Gunslingers offense had plenty of nods. In fact, both number 1 and 2 spots for the receiving options got in this team, because wide receiver Philip Barnett also got a second team All-NAL nod. The former Albany Empire receiver from last season, who came in a little later with the team, but made an impact right away. Was very eminent as he came onto the field.
Forgot he's a former Cobra too.
Oh yeah, that's fair.
Just saying, gotta give him love for Cobras too. Just
adding on. Got to keep it honest. So I appreciate that. Speaking of Cobras, DJ Myers, the former Predator. We'll go with that as well. But no, speaking of that, DJ Myers, as Jim mentioned, he's getting 2 nods here. He's second team All-NAL for receivers. So really well deserved. I mean, it's amazing to think that, he's second team for here, but his defensive skills are where they're shining when we talk about this later. For the front line, you have Melvin Hollins for center, Albany Empire. You also have Deshaun Johnson for the offensive line. And then the second offensive line position went to Brandon Thorpe, the first nod for the Columbus Lions. We moved over to the defensive side. This is where things kind of get a lot more jumbled up. This is where the Sharks start coming in more too. Quan Stallworth, nose DL, second team All-NAL. Shai Hill, defensive line, Jacksonville Sharks. And then we get into a list of Cobras here, defensive line. Larry Ford, who had quite the season himself over there in Carolina. Zach Brown, second team MAC linebacker selection. He actually gets a first team nod as well, like DJ Myers, by the way, when we go into this later. He is there at MAC. At Jack, Trayvon Shorts is on there at the Jack linebacker, which for you folks is like, well, All-NAL 2 years in a row. He did. Thing is, he got in a little late. He actually, I think, was impressive with his running back skills. But you'll see, whole season production affected that role there, as we'll talk about later. Delvin Randall, who led the league in interceptions at the end of the season, by the way, second team All-NAL for the Orlando Predators, the first of 2 Predators nods that are on this list. Maurice Leggett, a veteran of multiple arena leagues and a star in both the AFL and the NAL. He lands second team All-NAL defensive back alongside his teammate Jarrell Green. Both of them roamed the Lions defense, who at the end of the regular season were best scoring defense in the National Arena League. If anyone's watched them this season, that secondary, it's not a surprise. And then the special teams kicker, Mark Orozco, he was going to be on one of these possibly. Not shocked by this at all. He lands there as the kicker for all second team. And then kick returner Darian Townsend, he lands as the second team kick returner. Thoughts on the second team, Jim?
There's a few things that about the second team. All these guys deserve it. Well deserved. Hats off. You have a reward and you'll be acknowledged for the award. But there's a couple of guys on that list, and I go, if this didn't happen, they would have been first team.
Yeah.
And that is Mark Roscoe for Albany. If he didn't get hurt, I think he's first team NAL, because he was the only kicker kicking deuces in the NAL as the season progressed. And he got an injury and had a couple of weeks off. So that gave TC Stevens the more opportunity. And I meant to mention this in the NOS. And I don't know, is with Albany why they get the clutch kickers. They got Pearson last year, now they got Orozco.
That was funny because that was one of our big questions coming into the season was about not having Craig. And Mark comes in, it's like, all right, forget it. Mark easily supplemented that really well.
Well, overall, a lot of fans outside, especially Albany, they look at Trayvon Shorts and go, what's it? He wasn't with Albany to start the year. He was in Carolina. So yeah, he was in Carolina and went but Albany knew how to put him in the right position to win and perform. If you look at his overall body of work, you look at him as a running back, the offense in Albany has opened up since he's been in the running back position. But he's been on the defensive side of the ball. The guy's been a beast when he's on the defensive side of the ball. He well deserved, and I've seen a lot of people messing the message boards how this player should have been here because throwing out some nonsense because a lot of hatred towards Albany. Apparently, Albany has rivalries with everybody in the league. Every team's a rival to Albany. But you got to put the rivalry behind you, people. Trayvon Shorts is a dominant player.
Yes.
And he literally, me and Zach had this conversation before in a couple past episodes. I don't think Albany would be in this situation right now without them. So he's a second team player, but when Hag was back there, Hag is a beast. We had him on the show on Monday. He's a beast. We even joked in off screen about that we didn't air it. He didn't like playing running back because every time he was running back, he kept playing. He's like, I'd rather hit people. So they brought Trayvon Shorts in. Offense completely different dynamic. Castronova is more of his mobility self, and he's win by his legs because teams have to worry about Trayvon. Another person that I like, Kylie Vershad, in my opinion, should be first team receiver, but he did make the first team. Um, he, in my opinion, is low key an MVP dark horse in the NAL. That guy he single-handedly, in my opinion, kept San Antonio in a lot of football games. We had him on the show. Um, and and when we got into him and started learning his story and talking about San Antonio, that made me a fan of him. It was like, I want that to happen. Robert Kent, again, you can basically say Robert Kent is the Ryan Fitzpatrick of the National Arena League or in the arena game because he's played for a long list of teams for many of years. He comes right into San Antonio when they were in the hard times early in the season where we thought there were some darker times coming from San Antonio. He comes in and changes the game for San Antonio and made them not just playoff contenders, but a threat to a lot of upper teams. And they knocked off some teams. And at the season end of the year, they were at their tops. But if you look at overall, I'm going to say there was one snub. And I really, really like this guy. I voted for him. I think someone else did in our votes, but Freddie Booth Lloyd did not make it. And that really was like, got to look around. Yeah, I know he was part of a team that didn't play well, but when he was in, he was dominant. And that was one of the snubs. And
right, I'm with
you. You're with me?
Well, yeah. Well, no, I love Freddie. I liked Freddie Booth Lloyd when he was the majority of the season. Injury woes, I think, for some reason, affected the process of him being able to be nominated. So that's the thing that kills me is because if I would be able to, I'll be honest, if I would be able to vote for him, I would have voted for him. As the way the process works, you can't really, So
and another guy that I thought was snubbed out, but again, like we said about Orozco and Freddie Booth Lloyd, injuries, and that's Jonathan Bain.
Well, you'll see here in a second when we talk because that's implying something. Really.
But when we look at, especially there's receivers out there that didn't make the list. I'm like, and we had one of those receivers on the show.
Well, one of them, we did have one on the show. Another one we hadn't, Clarence Williams, I still am shocked as well.
Exactly. Like there are receivers that didn't make the second team. You're like, well, without that player on that team may not be where they're at right now, or make the playoffs or something like that. And
that's what's crazy. Clarence did great with or without Rakeem Cato come the end of the year.
Whoever was quarterback, Williams was still performing.
Right. I mean, whoever's signing on guys for the Preds next year, I hope you get Clarence back as one of your pieces alongside like Lonnie if you can. And Larry Beavers, because that'll be a good receiving core. You just got to lock stuff down. We've talked about this, of course, but Clarence to me was a guy that should have been at least NAL second team. So I was shocked by that.
I know who I voted for the second team as receivers, and one of them didn't make either team, and that is Kendrick Ings.
That's another one.
Yeah, that's why I said we talked to receiver. My other two guys was Devin Wilson, who didn't make second team, and the other receiver also got he did make one of the teams, but he didn't make the receiver. He was not Kylie Vershad, Darian Townsend.
Yeah, you're okay. And,
So, but again, ladies and gentlemen, it's so hard picking. If one thing that no means Zach and the people we talk to, we love this game so much. It's like we're trying to pick our Pro Bowl teams on 6 teams for two first and second team. It's so hard. It's not like the NFL where you have 32 teams with 55-man rosters and you know who the elite are.
Right.
When a league it's like 6 teams like it is in the NAL, and every team has so much talent. It's like, throw me a bone here. But again, Kendrick Ings, Freddie Booth Lloyd, and Jonathan Bain are the ones that I was like, oh, okay. Okay.
Those stick out specifically to me.
But all three of those players had significant injuries during the season that slowed their progression or slowed them to get a team vote. We have no idea about the awards yet because that will be announced on Friday night. So, but
Right.
yeah, not surprised. But the men who were in the first team, they very well deserve it. And um, I can't debate the first team
Right.
because I agree with all these picks in the first team.
And let's go through the first team while we're at it. Obviously, discussing Jonathan Bain, he is not in the first team, as we talk with snubs, and nor is Arvell Nelson, as Jim suggested. So, really, that might leave open space for you, who you could possibly guess. Quarterback Sam Castron. Really, you shut me down mid sentence.
Yeah.
Nice one, Jim.
Sorry, my bad.
Dude, I'm messing. You know, we're good. Quarterback Sam Castronova, who we had on the show on Monday, he gets an All-NAL first team nod. Congratulations to him. Hell of a turnaround for his seasons. We have discussed at full length. It's been night and day, year over year. So good for him. Running back Zach Brown is first team. One of the two guys we mentioned from the Cobras that got both first and second team nods for Carolina. So Zach Brown's getting a first team nod as a running back, which full season production work, he was definitely the best running back in the National Arena League. No doubt about it. In terms of pure rushing capability for the position, I know Sam Castronova led in rushing statistics, but when it's QBs versus RBs in the league, you got to put that stigma. Nonetheless, best running back, Zach Brown, easily. Wide receiver, Darius Prince. Do we really have to go into that? I mean, it's the name alone, and unless he's injured, you can kind of assume he's going to be here. So yeah, Darius Prince getting that first team nod. Nyquan Murray, who definitely talk about a season for this kid. Having to basically supplement Devin Wilson's production, and he really was the true number one by the end of the year for the Sharks. Excellent work for him. Also adding into this list, wide receiver Darian Townsend. Now talk about a guy who had to go through QB changes. One dude that, as we talk, second team return man himself, also now first team wide receiver, definitely a deserved nod. Offensive line setups here, center Derek Ziegler. I had no surprise, honestly. Definitely one of the top at that position in the NAL. The only lineman we know that was a specialist for this year, or at least played a specialty position at times for the Cobras. So shows you how important his position was and how important his impact is at that spot. Offensive line, Cornelius Lewis, no surprise to me either. Dude was bowling on both sides of the ball this season, did a great job as one of the tackles for the Albany Empire. And then, you know what, Jim, do you know how to pronounce this gentleman's name? I feel bad if I pronounce it wrong.
Right.
Oleoga Russell.
Feo. Oh, you're talking about Feo. Oh yeah, Feo. Yeah, you pronounced it right. Yeah, but
yes, I am not losing my mind.
No.
Oleoga Russell getting the other offensive line nod. I'm glad I got that right, and I would owe him an apology one way or another. Another good year for him as well. Definitely deserved spot. Honestly, line position I think was one of the more competitive ones once we moved up. It does, and that's one I think for me, as I get better at looking at these teams, as you do too, and I think Coach Manas will appreciate this as well. The line position's one that I think I had to go back and watch the most film on to make sure I was making the right positional choices. And there were ones like Ziegler and Lewis. I would say for my picks, I knew right away those were going to be my guys. I think second team was the one I really had to go in and go, okay, we're getting nitty gritty. Who am I putting my stuff in for?
Yeah.
So yeah, this was, that was the toughest part for me. While we're at, what was yours?
Mine was, and the first team was not just it wasn't the offensive line. My hardest thing was on the defense side of the ball, and that was the D line.
Okay.
Because there's three guys on the D line side for the first team. There's one guy that's a clear number one in my opinion. That's Braden Cisse. You can't have a D line in NAL without Braden Cisse as a first teamer. But there's some guys on there like Shai Hill. I thought he was a first teamer, who was basically the bread and butter of Jacksonville on defense this year. But you got other guys around that in this league that deserve full credit. But yeah, that was my difficult thing. It was the hardest thing in the first team was defense. The hardest thing for me and the second team was offense, wide receivers. So, but yeah, it's just the defense side of the ball for me. Like in the game of Ironman, it's always the toughest because you're looking at people playing defense as either their secondary position, because they're either offensive specialists or they prefer offense side of the ball. But when you look at the defensive side of the ball, you got to look at the people who their primary position is defense. And you look at that, you go, well, that's Nick Hag. Well, that's Brains D-Say. That's Shy Hill.
Right.
Shy Hill. And that's earlier in the season, you had guys like Zach Brown. He was linebacker, then fullback. So that was what I focused on the first team, this defense side of the ball compared to the first side of the ball, and it's their primary position. So yeah, that was the hardest thing for me because there was a couple of guys on defense. I'm like, dang it, one of these guys I'm gonna have to miss. But yeah.
Well, and as we go into this defensive selection, one you brought up with Brandon Cisse, he is another snub that did not get on either one of these. As the first team D line, nose tackle Walter Thomas for the Cobras leads off that, along with Ken Washington and Justin Alexander at defensive line, which honestly, Alexander, talk about an end of year. I mean, I think the way he ended the season really sold, I think, a lot of voters on him landing that first team nod. I think especially that game against the Sharks really stood out to me the most because he took over second half and kind of locked it down.
Yeah, of course.
So,
and like I just mentioned who I voted for first team, and then as you can say, it's so hard. But the guy is like Washington again. There was a couple of games, just not the one against Jacksonville, that he went beast mode.
Yeah, yes,
and that's the reason why he's on the first team. But yeah, you look at that first team, you go, really? Is that a first team? That just tells you how deep the NAL was this year on the defensive side of the ball, even though it was only 6 teams. That's why this league was so exciting this year. Look at the playoff standings when this playoff started, how close everybody was. Technically, they were all one game from each other, from 1 to 4. In playoff games 2 weeks ago, how close they were at one point. That's how close these votes are for these. That's one thing I love about this league. Everyone has a fighting chance to get in votes. And yeah, like when I saw Brandon Cisse didn't make it, I'm like, holy crap, I may be the only one on the island. But still, because I'm just gonna say, Brandon, you're on my first team. So don't come after me on Saturdays. And yeah, I actually voted you for first team. But
add
yeah,
add an honorable mention extra portion onto it is how I do it.
Best
I can do.
But yeah, Alexander and Washington, those are individuals at one point in the season, they either had clutch moments in the game that decided the game, or they single-handedly put their team on their back and led them to victory because of their defensive performance. Because as you know, in this game, it's just not the battle on the scoreboard; it's also the battle of possessions. If you win the battle of possessions, majority of the time you're winning the game. So, yeah, that's why it was so hard for me. Again, like I said, the first team defense was so hard for me to pick because of all the great talent that is in the NAL, especially on the defense side.
Right, and you'll see even with the linebacker selections, I think that shows how tough this was because Kerry Starks gets the MAC sack leader for the NAL. By the way, dude was an animal all season. Definitely well-deserved nod. I would have been actually upset if he wasn't in this in any of these teams because he just was 24/7, had a motor. So definitely deserved. And then DJ Myers, I mean, we talked about it. He got second team receiver. That's his main position he's known for. Last year, comes in first year Ironman, dominates at the jack linebacker.
He doesn't. He didn't dominate as a jack linebacker. He owned it. Like
there you go. You're upgrade. You just upgraded what I even gave. I
just because I voted for him in that position. I actually got a vote that actually counted that position. Yes. I watched him in the Jacksonville game. The 2 times they came to Jacksonville and watched him play. Come on. Jack linebackers are limited in what they can do, but that he was side to side, He was following like he did a play that he read Arvell the whole way, and Arvell went to go lob the ball, didn't even see him, and homeboy went there tipped it and ended up being an interception. But yeah, I just watched him, and especially in the playoff games in Columbus and previous games against Columbus leading up to the playoffs. I'm like, yeah, he's the best one in the league.
Yeah, well, try being a position where you only have a 5-yard belt that you can stay in, and you have to be in it before the snap, and you can only leave that said belt in a certain 2 to 3 scenarios. So yeah, you have to be disciplined, and you have to have quick reaction time if you're in coverage in that section of the field. So honestly, yeah, talk about a guy that's a use of Iron Man right there. When we got this started this year, that I think people were going, who are these folks that are going to come out of the woodwork that are specialists and make themselves even more pronounced? DJ is one of those guys instantly that did that this season. He definitely gets this nod for that. So congrats to him on that, honestly. Well-deserved stuff. Same for Zach Brown on it too. Like I said, with the running back and then, linebacker setup that he had as well. Both well-deserved nods for these guys. So yeah, it was hard for linebacker. For sure. Tough crowd. Absolutely. Defensive backs also same deal. Because there's a few that got left out in this too I look again, I'm go, okay, I see. Josh Jenkins, I would have been really upset if Josh Jenkins wasn't in either team. Quite frankly, him and Randall could have flip-flopped either way. But yeah, both of them, the Preds, they have good DBs. That was something that was a constant for them all season. Ball hawking DBs. Jenkins was a bruiser for the most part, but he had his moments he had plenty of moments this season for that Preds defense. So hats off to him. Marcus Smith, one that, for the Sharks secondary, I'll be honest, this one surprised me. I thought Rodney Hall would be in this section next to Dwayne Hollis, but Sharks did have their moments later in the year. Jim, obviously you have more, I'll say you have more points. I can tell instantly on Marcus himself, but I will give, as course, hats off. That's not saying it doesn't deserve it whatsoever. I think that was the one that left me out because Dwayne got in as well for first team.
Who deserves it.
Who definitely deserves it too. Yes. And so that was kind of I guess, like I said, Rodney was the only other one that is my one that I was surprised wasn't on either list. But honestly, I can tell you have some points on Marcus Smith that you like to get. So I want to hear your thoughts on him.
Well, this is not a comment that I want. I'm not shouting this out to the NAL fan base. This is a shout out to the city of Jacksonville.
Okay. Throwing one back again.
There's a lot of fans out there that jumped on Marcus Smith, saying he doesn't deserve to be the first team. Homeboy was the one that was covering the Darius Princes, the DJ Myers of the world in the NAL. And Darian Townsend, him. He was the number one when Kennyville left or got traded to Albany. He became the number 1 DB. Yes, in the arena game, you're going to get beat. You're not going to stop someone every single possession. You got to learn how to give up. Smith made some clutch interceptions and clutch defensive plays towards the end of the year that kept Jacksonville in the hunt for a home game in the postseason. But to the Jacksonville fans, be excited that we got a person in the first team. I'm going to admit I had him as my second team, not my first team. I think there is Hall should have been the first team. But again, for the fans of Jacksonville, stop being butthurt. We got a person on the first team. But still, go watch the film. The guy deserves it. He really does. He played his butt off this season as the number 1 DB for the Jacksonville Sharks. And without him playing it as he did, I don't think we stay in games against the Carolina Cobras. Or when we went to San Antonio and had to keep him up with San Antonio. He helped that process of staying in the game. So, well-deserved. But to the Jacksonville fans, stop being butthurt. Come on, enjoy it. We got guys there. But still, congrats to Smith. Well-deserved. Yes, I know I'm a homer. I get bashed for being a homer. Jacksonville, by the way, I think I'm at 5 now. So you better be very tipsy up there in Albany.
Oh, boy.
But yeah, I just want to say that to the fans here in the city. It's just be blessed. that we have someone in the first team,
Oh
and
yeah.
he deserves it. He was a guy who, just like Naquan Murray, who came out of the woodwork, needed to step up and be the number one, did come up and be the number one, and took it by the horns and went. And same with Smith. He had to be the number one when Deal left, and he did. So congrats to those two guys who got the awards. But still, Jacksonville fans, come on, stop being so butthurt, man. Enjoy it. Championship week. Enjoy the games.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good argument when you have, when you have split second moments that can make or break a game, and you have someone that is able to lock down a Darius Prince or lock down a Townsend, get on someone like a Myers if you need to, where he has to be put on, that's a great asset. So, and you have to, like I said, you should be happy. I mean, you should be happy for these folks either way, because these people, this stuff can help with, if they say they happen to move on from the NAL, that can help their nods for their careers elsewhere, or it helps them with finding signings elsewhere next year if they don't stay with their teams, or it helps them staying with their teams too. That you gotta be happy if they're on this list one way or another. And honestly, even the folks aren't on here, people know. You fans out there like ourselves listening, you know who is still good. That's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
But these nods, I think it's the cream of the crop. Like that's what we're honoring with this. And the final two we're going to give an honor here is in the special teams. Kicker TC Stevens, which honestly, I mean, is anyone surprised? I think at this one, one of the most consistent kickers for the NAL in recent years, comes back on the All-NAL list once more this season.
Mm-hmm.
Tan ball, white ball, you name it. Dude had an impact on games one way or another and was as deadly. And he's in the championship against second team member Mark Orozco. So hopefully we can get the kicking battle at least up for Saturday. And then Kylie Vershad, who, I mean, everyone's talked all year. Darian, it was really going to be Darian or Kylie. And I think Kylie had just a bit better body of work at that spot. And it's deserved. A very much well-deserved position. Congrats to him. He is definitely going to be one that's getting a happy nod towards himself and the San Antonio organization. So that wraps
also also I forgot on honorable mention the special teams. Parsons out of San Antonio.
Yeah, or Pearson. Drew Pearson. You're talking.
Drew Pearson. The final 3 weeks that he was with the San Antonio Gunslingers, when he finally got to the team, he was actually, I think, the only kicker that was consistently kicking deuces each and every week. He also
got the deuce record as well. He tied that. So
yeah, I think if he would have had an extra 3 or possibly 4 extra weeks on that top of the 3 he did have 7 weeks in the season, I think he would have been one of the guys in the first or second team. He was very consistent. Now, I know I got people who said, what about Blanchard? Too inconsistent. But yeah, TC automatic. We like last year where we were talking about who was the best kicker besides Pearson. It was TC Stevens. TC Stevens is now here. Was he first team last year? TC and Pearson was second team?
I'm gonna have to look back. I believe that is the case, actually.
I think he's back-to-back first team. Yeah, he is first team because he ended the season on fire compared to Pearson, who kind of struggled at the end of the year. So yeah, TC is back to back.
Yeah, and confirming this right now. Yeah, TC is a back to back this year. Some others that are back to back first team might not be the same team, but just giving you a heads up. Dwayne Hollis, that'll be another one on the first team that's back to back as well. Darius Prince. Myers, but just not as a receiver. That's what's funny. He's got that first team nod, but now at a new position. So congrats to him. Oh yeah, of course. I mean, it's still I'm not taking it away. Yeah. I'm just telling you that it's pretty cool that he got that as a defensive position this season, but he actually gets 2 nods in 1 year.
Yeah, true.
First and second. So that's got to be pretty cool. You got to. Like I said, Iron Man, I think that's what's nice. The awards get shaken up with Iron Man. I like it. I like Iron Man for that result alone.
I have a question. This is just hypothetical.
Okay.
First team and second team play in the hypothetical NAL Pro Bowl.
Oh.
Who wins?
Oh, you're asking. Oh my God. Talk about. Okay. First off, imagine if it is DJ's got to go, sorry, guys, got to flip over to my receiving position. Hope I don't burn you too bad. And then plays it both ways like that the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm going to be frank with you. If I had to take another quick look over here, which I'm doing a quick scroll because I also moved on from it on my slate, so bear with me as I'm checking again. Honestly, I'm still probably gonna go first, but that doesn't mean that that's gonna be like a blowout. Like it's gonna be close.
Mm-hmm.
I just think that to me, there's both sides of the ball have just that bit extra on the first team that make me say it's that. Like, you know, Zach Brown to me, you know, no, not taking away from Pierre Turner. To me, he had a bit more oomph than Pierre Turner. Plus, he also has it where, you know, he's got to go play linebacker on the opposite side. But again, if you look at the linebacker selections for the first team, yeah, I'd want Kerry Starks and DJ Myers because Kerry Starks was a freaking animal and is your sack leader. You know, sure, yeah, the second team's got say like Randall on the opposite side or Delvin Randall on the opposite side, but you also have Josh Jenkins, so kind of, you know, knocks things out. I think the receiving core, and this is again, if I'm hypotheticals, these guys are still talented gentlemen. I think the receiving cores for the two are an X factor as well. I personally would take the first teams a little bit more. Naquan, the way he played, obviously Darius Prince, and Darian Townsend. I mean, like I said, all three of those. It's so hard to cover those three in general. They can so easily slip away and get missed in coverage just because of how talented. And I have to take it just for that alone. Sam Castronova and Robert Kent, different play styles, but I'm going to be frank. The fact that Sam can kind of bail out of the pocket and just make a defense kind of like grab their helmet and go, oh, geez, we just gave up 15 yards off of a broken three lineman set, three-man pocket. Yeah, I think I got to go first team. It would be a good game if that was the hypothetical, and I would be intrigued by the fact you have to flip teams every single time. Plus, then you have to get honorable mentions in there for backups for rotation. I think you'd have to make an NAL third team or something, and then start splitting up those guys because you'd have them dog tired. You'd be like, dude, we really aren't getting paid enough for that at that point.
Agreed.
But I take the first, just a bit. I take the first though.
I take the first because of the Sam Castronova, and B, you have two of the most dynamic receivers that are similar in style, which is Naquan and Darian Townsend, speed demons, and Currence's size, but who has some hidden speed when he wants to be hidden speed. He can get open. But I look at the trenches, and I look at the offensive line of first team compared to the second team's defensive line, and football is very odd. When you win the line scrimmage, you win the game, and first team, in my opinion, has a better trench play than the second team. But if it was hypothetical, it would be one of those exciting games like we've seen earlier this year between San Antonio and Columbus, where it was 79-72 type of action. So hypothetical, yeah, I'll take the first team.
One thing we have to add on before we jump into our coverage and discussion on our picks for the National Rally League Championship is a little bit of show news we're going to have moving into next year. And a buddy of the show that, you know, honestly, we got to give him a shout out either way at some point on here for just kind of, you know, being, I would say, not only real friendly, but also just awesome at like talking about the leagues, getting us some stuff maybe that he knows or doesn't know about the business. Two, you know, has several connections amongst the alternative football community, and that is Justin Clem, who will be joining us as a bit of our team starting next year. We're going to be working alongside with him. He's going to be helping us out with some social media. As you see, he does a great job posting on his own social, you know, at least clips and parts of games that he finds that are highlights. He loves the NAL, loves IFL football, CFL, but he'll be helping us exclusively with our NAL content, and we cannot wait to work with him. He's been a blast to talk to, and he's going to be helping us out next year, so we're glad to bring him on board.
Yeah, he's a great asset in the arena community. If you know who he is, you've seen him on other sites and other social media. He is very active. He's built a good uh, relationships with a lot of organizations in every league, and we've had a very good working relationship with him for a couple of actually from the beginning of the year. And it just came to a point where me and Zach Kent's like, you know what? He let's give him the opportunity to, do the socials for us
Mm-hmm.
and be a part of the team. And we reached out to him and he was like, he'll be down to do it. So I'm excited. Kind of helps me and you. Now we're just
Yeah.
basically just recording and doing shows while he'll be doing everything else, but still it's pretty cool. Follow him. He's on Twitter as well. He's guarantee it. If you saw him on Twitter, you know who he is because he is basically all over arena football. But it was a type of invitation that, in my belief, had to be done. He deserves it, and I'm very excited that he's a part of the team.
Yeah, same deal. Dude has a lot of passion for this level of football. Appreciate it. Loves supporting the players. Loves supporting this brand of football that doesn't get enough recognition as it is. And so, looking forward to working with him. Wanted to let you guys out there know that he'll be helping us out, and shout out to him as well for all the support he's had this year. Well, without further ado, Jim, it is that time. As folks have been waiting all week, we have been really quiet. We've made sure to not give our picks. There's actually one or two pick'ems I've helped with instigating that I even haven't dropped mine in. So I got to get this just to get that out there too. And that is for our 2022 NAL Championship game. As we've said all week, Carolina, the 2 seed, all season have been dominant. They had a little bit of a rocky slip in the back fourth of the season. They're here. They're coming up. They currently just got into Albany as of yesterday, and they will be taking on the host team for the second straight year, the Albany Empire, who won last year's trophy. Remember, folks, they started up that year with 30 days. They got a whole season this year to put in, new faces as well. And here they are, found a way to get to number 1, and they'll be hosting this year for second straight, looking to be back-to-back champions in this league, which has not been done in the NAL. So that is something they have that is in store if they can pull this off. Only thing is, and I know we talked about this with Manas, we'll bring this up in our discussion, got to get over and get that first win of these 4 matchups. That's the big thing looming over, at least if you're talking storylines and things going in. Jim, these 2 are coming in, and really they're healthy. Both of them, to me, seem like they have their best stars available. We've said this, at least to everyone we've talked to. Their best folks are coming out, and they are going to be at this game. You're going to get the 2 versions of these teams that should be what they loaded up to be at the beginning of the year, or at least what they've transformed into being their best version themselves coming into this season. How do you view these matchups? What are your key matchups for this championship?
Well, when we look at a championship game in any sport, NFL, NBA, NHL, there's always injuries are always an issue for teams. There's a key player that's missing a game in the series, or there's a person that is not going to be 100% that he's recovering from an injury and he's playing a super like a football game or a big time game. You can honestly say there's bumps and bruises. You're going to have that in the 14, 17-week season. These are the healthiest these 2 teams have been all season. This is going to be the 4th matchup between the 2. Carolina won the season series 3-0, but this is game 4 and it's more pivotal. Who cares who wins the season series? Whoever wins this one has the ultimate bragging rights. You're going to have a very healthy Sam Castronova. You're going to have a healthy Jonathan Bain in this game. This is going to be Castronova's 3rd time playing against the Cobras, because the first time it was Mike Faithful, and this is Bain's again. He didn't play the last time they played they had Malik Henry play Albany the last time they played each other.
Yes.
This is going to be a situation for Carolina, like how Albany traveled to Carolina without Brandon Cisse, without Nick Hag. Now Carolina got their guys back, especially Jonathan Bain. The offense, as you've seen last week or 2 weeks ago in the playoffs against Columbus, top notch. It's the highest He came out with a bang, had one bad possession, and bam, it's again. But the keys to this game, the key position I want to see here is Dwayne Hollis on DJ Myers. And on the reverse side of things, it's going to be the strategic. What does Carolina's front five have against Albany's offensive line? That's the key position, because if you look at the past 3 games this season, Carolina's defensive line and the line scrimmage battle has always favored Carolina in all 3 matchups. And again, football is unique. I don't care how many touchdowns you can throw, how many field goals you can kick. You can't win the 6 inches in front of you. In football, you're going to lose the game most of the times. I think it's going to be more line scrimmage, because we talked to Coach Rez this week, and he said, man, it's going to come down to the very end. And we talked to Coach Manas, and Manas thinks this is going to be a blowout. Because that's what Manas is. That's how he is as a coach. And if he doesn't trust his players, then why is he a coach? Mm-hmm. But it's simple things about football. It comes down to line scrimmage. But I want to just say this. You look at the numbers. Sam Castronova clearly is based on statistics, he's the better overall quarterback because of the rushing portion of his as his position. Mm-hmm. But you got to look at DJ Myers. You look at this. You got Darius Prince. You got DJ Myers. You have Lance Evans. You have Kendrick Ings. Right there.
Looks like you missed it. Looks like you gave Darius Prince over to the Cobras.
No. You have 4 of the top 6 leading receivers in the NAL.
I see what you're doing. Okay.
4 of the 6. You have Nick Hagg. You have Zach Brown. You have Trayvon Shorts. You have 3 of the best MAC linebackers in the game playing in this game. And then you have 2 jacks that are unique, DJ Myers and Trayvon Shorts. We've said in the beginning of the year, we said in the offseason how the offseason everyone was just talking about Albany. And we're like, keep your eye on Carolina. They're building a better roster, but no one's talking about them. Go figure. 17 weeks later, or 18, how many weeks has been? It's Carolina and Albany.
Mm-hmm.
The roster that's defending champions, that was good. That was getting all the praise in Albany. But no one was talking about that Carolina team. Carolina started off hot, simmered down, did the elevator towards the end of the season, got to their moment. Albany kind of went on a slumber, got better, went on that little drought in the middle of the season, then ended the season on a high note. There's a saying out there that sometimes the best teams do not win championships. In this case, that's not the fact. Both these teams, in my opinion, are equal. Whoever wins is a legitimate champion. It's not, they were the better team and they lost. No. Mm-hmm. They're both champions. There's a little grudge in this match, too. I've talked to a couple of players. Some players on some teams we don't care that they're 3-0. We get the championship at home. Other players are saying, we'll like to bring out that broom again and walk home with a trophy. Or in the words of a player that we had on the show, go out and celebrate in their hometown. It's championship football. What I'm saying, although the key positions, one thing I love about this game is that they throw out the stats, throw out the records. These are the 2 best teams in the league. These are the 2 best rosters in the league. These are the 2 of the best coaches in the league, all in one game, playing for a trophy, or as one coach mentions, playing for jewelry. Yes. Which then he laughs. The keys of the game is who doesn't make turnovers, who doesn't cause stupid penalties. Because whoever does that first is behind the 8 ball. Because if Jonathan Bain's on fire and Albany's the one getting the false starts, getting the turnovers, it might get ugly. And vice versa. If Sam Castronova's on fire and Carolina's the one doing all the boneheaded things, kind of dirty. For me, I won't make my pick. I'll make you decide, talk about the 2 games. I'm just going to say, this is going to be a very unique game, and nothing will capitalize a NAL chaos season like chaos in the championship game. I have a feeling chaos is going to happen. Something unique is going to happen in the game. that everyone's gonna be like, I can't believe that play we'll talk about in March. We're going to talk about in April next year. Like, remember that play in the championship game that turned the whole landscape? I believe that play will happen
Oh,
that we didn't have a couple of years ago. But yes, championship game. I'll hold my pick, but I think this is going to be one of the NAL championship games where you look back and go, I remember vividly this championship game 10 years down the road. Same like as I remember the 2019 game against Carolina. That was one of the most exciting championship games I've ever attended in my life. There's only been like 6 of them. Not all NAL, some of them were outdoor games, but that was one of the most exciting games I've ever attended. I think we're going to have that type of moment in Albany this week. I really do. 2 best teams coming down the wire, healthy, coaches are focused, both teams have different attitudes. They're going about to hit the door running. We're going to see some fireworks, I guarantee, at the media days between the 2 teams, and we're going to see an epic championship game on Saturday. And honestly, I can't wait. And before we do the picks, sir, you take the floor.
Yeah, of course. I'm glad you gave me the space. I was waiting it out, seeing is he gonna do the pick? Is he not gonna do the pick? But no,
Nope.
This is good. This is good. Here's my thing. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm sticking to my rhetoric and how I've seen this. I really do believe this is one that will be a last possession game. I know Coach Manas. I love the confidence there. And I think that's great because honestly, both these coaches we've talked to, when we've had conversations this week with them, I love the confidence they have in their rosters, which you should be, of course. But I mean, we're talking like I have no doubt in my mind we can pull this off type of deal, and they're fully loaded. That you can look at both of these teams. I mean, you see for Carolina's sake, I mean, 4 of their 5 starting 5 defenders are all NAL talents.
Correct.
Think about that. That's something you got to go against alone. Albany also has nothing to snooze about either. I mean, they have both of these teams compose a good chunk of these all NAL rosters. They're high quality talents, and some of the snubs we even talked about aren't even on here, and they could be their own. So think about that, folks. Jonathan Baines, the Marvin Rosses of the world, they aren't on these, but they're going to make an impact. I'm so excited because I think this is a 1 possession affair. Something like we saw in the semifinals in Albany last week. I'm not even going to bring up the team name because I'll have to give the folks over there another swig. But nonetheless, I think it's going to be that way. And here's the X factor, and it's 2 of them at least, and they're both Carolina related in my opinion. And it's going to be can the Empire control the line like you were talking, Jim? Where are they able to do what they want against that front 5 with the folks that are on that line? Again, DJ Myers, that man has been an excellent linebacker at the jack spot. And I mean, max spot for them is no slouch. It's Zach Brown, who has been a stalwart at linebacker for the Sharks and now for the Cobras here since he's been in the NAL. And, like I said, Walter Thomas and Ford on the opposite sides of that line. What can I tell you? There's reasons why the Cobras have been able to do what they want. They did it against the Columbus Lions. That's what you're watching at. If you're watching tape from last week, and I bet that was a game that Manas was watching tape because it was close enough to where it's not a blowout or anything. That's something I'm keying in, and I think Sam, he's definitely watching it. He's going to be having to see how he maneuvers the pocket. I imagine if you are Hollins and Lewis, you're also trying to see how am I going to be able to maintain that offensive pocket for Sam if I'm in Albany. It comes down to really that front line play. And to me, if I'm the Empire, and the Empire have no slouch either in their receiving core because, like I said, Markel Wade, Aaron Washa, Dwayne Hollis as well, they can burn you. But talk about the weapons in Carolina. We've said all year. It's not just DJ Myers and Kendrick Kings, Lance Evans, James Summers, Joe Powell. They have 5 people that can burn you at any given time and have had moments in the games all year. That's the other X factor to me. Can Marvin Ross, DJ Myers, and Magruder and company lock down what offensively the Cobras have been able to do all season? And can Brandon Cisse and Cornelius Lewis get back there along with, of course, like a Nick Hag to make an impact? That's what's going to be your key. You know, it comes down, of course, to that line play again. But I really think that the receiving core of Carolina, if you're somehow able to make it where Jonathan Bain is uncomfortable all day, and it's not just that he's finding one, he can't find anybody because he doesn't have time. That is going to be where you can get it as the Empire. My third one, and this is because of the fact that they haven't faced this offense yet, because it came out of what they were adjusting during the 3-game losing streak. How do the Cobras respond to the Albany offense now with the adjustments of really indoor football concepts? If, as we've talked, the Empire adapted, as we talked with Manas earlier today, you might have listened to that. You know, Damon Wade and him, they went back to their IFL days, and they brought concepts here, and it's been working like that since. It's been really efficient, especially with Trayvon Shorts now being the running back.
Correct.
How do you handle that? Will you make the adjustments necessary to slow down that newly tuned offense? Those 3 keys are what you should be watching for in this game, along with the fact that for the Empire, their 3 losses, they're 2 of their 3 losses, and I'm talking the 2 with Sam Castronova, not with, of course, Mike Faithful. Crazy to think that week 1 we had Mike Faithful in Albany. It's come down to, you know, just who makes 1 to 2 less mistakes. You know, one game came down to simply the fact that it was essentially an intentional grounding call that ended that game for Albany. They got a 4-and-out on their own 2-yard line late in the 4th quarter. They need a score to go up, and it was 1 play. Now, credit, games are full length, but if you go back there, you get that 1 possession, we could be talking about a little bit different record. But it comes down to cleanest football at the right time. One thing Josh Resinalo has done this season when it comes to clutch moments, games that matter in the grand scheme, make or breaks, even 14 weeks of play, he's made it and has done it when the going gets tough. Albany's done it too, but they haven't been able to do it yet against Carolina. Can they do it this time? Which then leads into picks. And I'll be saying it. I think the Empire will do it this time. And I'm going to say that the main X factor comes down to that offense. Because of the tuning, because of Trayvon Shorts, allowing a little bit more of an unpredictability with the run game opens up the pass game. And so with those in mind, I think you have just enough with the Empire's defense, who are opportunistic when they need to be. That has been really something that they have come to adapt to in this stretch run that they've had of wins the back half of the season. I think that they find just enough opportunities, either in a 4-and-out, or they can get Jonathan Bain rattled enough to get 1 interception, that I think they flip this game. Because I don't see it being a blowout either way. I really see this as the cleanest play will win this one. To me, it comes down simply to who plays the cleanest. I think the Empire offensively have things figured out to where they want to be their best version of themselves. I think they walk away with their 2nd straight NAL championship, and MVP Arena will have confetti raining down for them in front of a large audience.
How can I phrase this? There's going to be a couple of things that are going to happen in this game. 1, there will be a crucial interception in the 4th quarter. 2, no deuces will be made in this game.
Okay.
3, the team that wins will join, drink up Albany, Jacksonville as the 2 championship member of the NAL.
I see.
Jonathan Bain versus Sam Castronova. DJ versus Darius Prince. You can go down the list of both teams. Coach Resinalo versus Manas. This is the 4th time these 2 teams have met each other. Carolina's won all 3. In the words of a great coach in the National Football League who has won multiple championships, it's hard to beat a team once. It's hard to beat a team twice. It's impossible to beat a team 3 times. Carolina did that against Albany. But now this is the 4th meeting, the most unique. We don't see a lot of 4th matchups in football.
It's true.
This is historic in the NAL and arena game. 2 teams are very experienced. One team has a lot of championships already in their history. gone back to the AFL, and a couple players that currently have titles.
Mm-hmm.
But I look at the rosters, and I look at the two quarterbacks. One, mobile, hotshot, doesn't like his nickname. The other one, a veteran who's been there, who's done that. And clearly, when he's playing, Carolina is at their best. As much as I love him, as much as I think he's going to be a superstar in the making in the NAL, something deep down inside says that this game is going to be a turnover ship. So with that, I think the Albany Empire will get that interception. Will get that big play. And they will hoist their second trophy of the 2022 season and join Jacksonville as the 2 championship club. I'm just saying Jacksonville to get the beers drinking. So you're all drunk by now. So yes, I think Albany does hold on to this game. I think we touch 70s in this game, and it's going to come down to one possession. I really do think, looking at both teams and how both teams prepare, travel situation, the people we've talked to, it's just, for me, it's so hard to beat a team 4 times. But I think it's a 1 possession game, and I think there's going to be a big turnover in the fourth quarter. Like I mentioned before, that's going to be that moment you go, you remember that play that turned everything around and won it's going to happen in the fourth quarter. Basically, how I'm setting it up, Carolina is going to get the ball, and they're going to go for the kill. Dwayne Hollis or Nick Hag is going to get a pivotal turnover that's going to switch the game. That's going to make Albany get that ball, get the game-winning touchdown, and ice it. I think Albany scores a game-winning touchdown with no time on the clock left and wins their championship. That's how close I think this game is going to be, and I really can't wait, because I think it's going to be very exciting as the season comes to a epic, chaotic end, and that's why. Now, if we were betting, I'll still pick Albany, because here's why. They just don't lose championship games when they host. They just don't. Look at their history. They just don't.
It's true.
But yeah, yes, the homer down in Jacksonville picks the Albany Empire. I might get a text message from Coach Rich here. It's like, what the heck?
Coach. I'm going to be honest. It's hard for me to pick against the Cobras here.
Yeah.
And honestly, if you're a Cobras fan, I can imagine what's being said right now. Well, they've beaten them twice in Albany already this season. They know how to travel on the road. You know, they've beaten this Empire squad already. You know, to me, it's just, I think you're going to have the largest crowd there they've had all year, so they'll have that extra bit on them. And I think that, like I said, it's been constant adjustment for Albany. Eventually, you know, if Rez pulls it off and gets 4 in a row here, shout out to him. I have my reserve crow sitting out off screen, and it's going to be very much eating it for a cookout some point a week or so after the championship. And, you know, knowing us, he'll be on, or Tom.
Yeah.
And we'll talk, and knowing these picks, if it is Rez, he'll give us a good old tough loving.
I'll make a bet. Personal bet.
Okay.
Whoever wins this game, I am buying championship gear from that team. And I'll have to wear it. And here's the bet. I'll have to wear it, that championship shirt, off, like, during the off season, every episode, if this shirt's available. I'm not gonna wear it like every single day, okay? I'm gonna wear that shirt to represent. I may switch up, because I actually got a San Antonio shirt finally, which is odd. I ordered that 4 months ago almost, but it finally got to me. But I have some other shirts, and so yeah, I'm gonna buy whoever's championship shirt that is, and that, not next show, because you know how deliveries are, it takes forever. I'll wear it. That's my bet. If whoever wins this championship, I will wear a championship shirt. That is my gratitude to the organization, and gratitude to the league for us giving us the opportunity to be the official podcast and give us the opportunity to express our opinion about the league that we love and appreciate. So I just want to say that no matter who wins, you're going to get my money, and this Shark fan's going to wear some enemy colors for a couple of weeks this off season because of the bet. It's just a friendly bet, and honestly, again, it's me giving some gear away. And also, I did have someone message me about the tickets that we're supposed to give because of our sweepstakes.
Mm-hmm.
I had a person come behind me, a person from Up and Up, saying that hold down on that. We might have something this off season for you. So just stand by. We will be doing a giveaway, but it won't be for tickets. It'll be for some other NAL stuff. So just stay tuned for that. But yeah, thank you again for watching this whole entire season. Enjoy the weekend. Enjoy the championship game. Zach, enjoy your flight, my friend.
Yes.
And go up there. Be safe. Say hi to everybody. Enjoy the hibachi if you get there in time with the Cobras. Enjoy the hibachi.
I'm hoping so.
But for me, for the people out there, still haven't got confirmation. There will be somewhat of a live stream happening, live reaction Saturday night. It would either be me with Mason Espinoza with another player, or it will be me or another colleague who watches Arena Football who understands the game. Just come there and enjoy. We're watching the game, and we're going to be enjoying the championship game. So it's a full event. We'll go live maybe around the game's at 7. We'll go live at 6 on our live stream on Saturday for everyone to join on Inside the Walls podcast. And again, we'll be watching it. We're not going to be playing it on our thing. So that's Saturday night. And of course, Zach may be hijacking the Twitter page of Inside the Walls because he'll be live there getting some live video, which is on the scene. He's going to be on our scene reporter. So yeah, it's pretty cool. And also this off season, can't wait. We got a lot of announcements coming out for the show. Things I'm working with other colleagues with. We're trying to get something together for the off season. So yeah, enjoy the enjoy the championship Saturday. Enjoy your trip, Zach. And to the fans out there, appreciate the love and respect. And to the National Arena League, thank you again for giving to Average Joe's the opportunity to present the product to the fans of the National Arena League.
Cheers to all of you. Enjoy the NAL Championship. And honestly, I'm looking forward to being out there and being that on-scene guy and getting to encapsulate what has been an entertaining 2022 season. Folks, if you want to keep up, by the way, for any of those updates or the live stream, be sure to follow us on our socials, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. That is at InWallsPod for all three. Again, at InWallsPod. You can find the live stream on Facebook or YouTube, of course. It will be depending on that, of course, details working out. Twitter, I'll be jumping on, and I'll possibly be doing a live stream of bits and pieces of that they're posting video. So you'll definitely want to tune into our Twitter for that too.
Also, I want to thank Dave, David, Justin, Brandon, Skylar, Mike, and Steve, Josh, Coach Rez, Coach Manas, Levesque, Gaz, Matt Coe, and Richard. Those people that I just mentioned are fans, listeners, and supporters, and people who we have great relationships with that got this podcast off the ground, that gives us a chance to present and also gives us our motivation for what we do each and every week this season. I want to say thank you to those individuals. Thank you for the support. Thank you for helping us, and especially the coaches and especially Levesque and Gaz. Go to their show that they do every Tuesday. They do a great job. The Levesque and Gaz show. And everyone else, especially Phil. Sorry, Phil from San Antonio. I appreciate the love and support too. I'm just very humbled, honestly, man, about this whole situation. And enjoy the championship game. Tune in Saturday for the championship game for myself. Zach will be there live. So 6 days straight of content, 7th day coming. It's championship Saturday, and just like that, the season's over. But it'd be very chaotic. And I can't wait to not just see who wins the championship, but see what this league brings us in 23.
Absolutely. Much more ahead, as always, for the NAL, even into the off season. Folks.
Covering all your favorite parts of the 50-yard fight. This is the Inside the Walls podcast with Zach Kyleman and Jim Mernier.